lot of people think that correctional officers are the ones that are in charge inside. They are not. The ones that are in charge are the inmates and the cartel that runs the prison system. There was 14 people killed. The main boss was decapitated.
Were you ever scared for your life?
Every day. That's how you live.
Guns, narcotics, and violence are staples for Mexican cartels. The nation loses thousands of cartel members and locals every year. Seeing the news of violent incidents makes us shiver. But what about the people who commit them? How do these people end up as hitmen or sicarios in these cartels? How are they trained? And how can they turn off their emotions and become such ruthless masters of violence? In 2023, former Sinaloa cartel sicario Ali Gonzalez opened up about his life in the cartel and prison and recounted tales of the horror he witnessed there, tales that would disturb anyone. Stay tuned as we tell you the story of Ali, the hitman who was groomed into becoming a brutal cartel sicario. Ali Gonzalez was born in Guerrero in southern Mexico. His parents took him to the United States when he was only 1.5 years old. He spent his formative years in South Central Compton in Southern California and lived the life of an ordinary American child.
A normal, you could say, American childhood, around gangs and all that good stuff that corrupts a kid.
And obviously it's gang related, everything's gang related.
Even in school?
Even in school.
Growing up in South Central Compton made him extremely sensitive to his surroundings. The area demanded the locals be aware of where they were walking, or if they were drawing too much attention to muggers. It also added stress to Ali's life. He didn't have much peace at home. He believed that his family being broken was the reason he got involved in crime. His father was abusive towards him and his sister, which prompted Ali to become violent against him. He believes that this was his first step toward a criminal life.
The stress of seeing that obligated me to try to kill him. That a couple times. Obviously I was barely 12. So I think that's the main reasons why I was trying to just get out of my own world, because of the destruction that my own father had done.
Ali's father ended up in prison and received a sentence of 16 years. His mother couldn't speak English and was not equipped to work and provide for her young children. They also didn't have any help from other family members. That's when Ali was forced to pursue the life of a gang member. He needed the money to sustain his family, and the world of crime was a shortcut to that. He started small, but progressed from there. He was only 14 or 15 years old when he began trafficking narcotics to different countries on order from his bosses.
First it was home invasions, theft, normal petty theft. Then it moved on to moving certain amounts of drugs to different counties, depending on where the person that was in charge of the gang wanted you to move them.
His mother despised what he did and didn't want to keep him with the other children.
My mom didn't want me in the house anymore around 15, 16 because of the bad influence I was getting my brother and my two sisters. So she told me, you gotta choose a path,
Ali left his family and began living with his gang peers. As he was good with guns, he thought of trying his luck in Mexico and becoming a sicario.
And he's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, I'm good with guns, I've always been really handy with weapons, and I've always considered myself a person that is not afraid, I'm not a coward. And I told him, I want to get into the sicario, and the sicariato, we call it. It's called basically mercenary.
His peer set him up with someone from Mexico, and Ali was off to a new adventure. He was 17 years old.
At the same time, I knew that this was a movement, because once you're into the game, you only got two ways. You die, or you go to prison.
The cartel business has a dark and dirty side. Apart from hiding from law enforcement, they also have to fight with other cartels. When members of one cartel chase another and take their lives, the other cartel retaliates.
They kill one of yours, you go looking for one of them. That's how I ended up as a gunslinger or a hitman.
Ali was further pushed into violence when he got caught in the middle of a narcotics traffickers' war.
It's a whole different world, and the violence that the human being is able to do is really unthinkable, you know?
Ali worked for the Sinaloa cartel in Sonora, which is one of the biggest cartels in Mexico. He also worked for the Morelos and La Familia Michoacana. According to him, the cartels were doing much worse things in Mexico, something a first world country couldn't even imagine, all because they wanted to make a name for themselves. So what did typical cartel operations look like, and how did Ali fit in with them? According to him, the cartels were divided into two factions. One looked after the narcotics trafficking, and the other one was the military faction, who defended the cartel. This faction primarily fought for territorial dominance. They also tried to capture the best routes of trafficking narcotics inside the U.S., and spent time locating and eliminating key commanders from rival cartels.
Going into cities and locating these rival hitmen, these rival people or rival drug lords, and taking them out.
Ali had initially been on the trafficking side, but he loved the adrenaline rush that came with holding and using the rifle on enemies. So he switched and became a sicario. They had strict rules to follow and had to keep themselves alive while on the go. Ali knew the game, and he absorbed every bit of training he received from his cartel bosses. If any of the sicarios were in debt with any of the cartels, they would sometimes maintain them by paying with narcotics instead of a salary. These people didn't last long in the business.
Obviously, the people that would do drugs, you would see them lasting 3 months, 2 months. They would end up getting murdered.
But this acted as a favor for the sicarios. During a battle, they would easily identify such people from the enemy cartel and take them out quickly. Keeping them alive would endanger the lives of Ali and his peers, as the rival members could work as evidence and leak sensitive information to the authorities.
If you're a professional, you know that what you do is you just put 2 in the chest and 1 in the head, that's it.
According to Ali, cartels used these people as cattle for slaughter. They were disposable, and so they used them for quick, petty jobs. If they didn't make it out alive, the cartel bosses wouldn't have to sustain a big loss. Many of these cartel recruits were very young, and some of them hadn't even finished their primary education. But making easy money might not have been their only motive when they joined these cartels. Ali felt that cultural influence was equally important in shaping their choices.
It's more about the influence that society gives them, you know, the type of music that they hear, what they see on TV. That's what they feel inspired to be like that, and when in reality they have no idea what that life is all about.
The life of a cartel member is surrounded by death. Close associates have their lives taken away every day. Ali stressed that every member must use their brains and courage together in order to survive as a sicario.
You can't just be running around there thinking you're the biggest and the baddest, because there's always going to be someone bigger or better than you.
So where did these cartels get all this power and dominance? Shockingly, they had assistance from the local law enforcement authorities, because without their help, they wouldn't be able to continue their trade so smoothly.
Is police connected to cartels?
Yeah, definitely. Local police are 100%. State police, you could say 50-50.
While in many instances, the police helped them willingly. In some, they were forced to assist because they didn't have a choice.
It's basically the same law that Pablo Escobar told the government. You know, it's plata o plomo, you know? It's money or lead, whichever one you want.
Some cartels didn't even offer money to bribe the local authorities. They simply took them out during clashes and stole the gear from the bodies of the officers. But the violence went far beyond this, and Ali saw his fair share. He recalled an incident where the cartel members picked up 12 to 15 men and women. Not all of them belonged to rival cartels, and some were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Ali and his peers arrived at a ranch where another group of the Sinaloa members were preparing to take out these people. They were also recording the incident to release on the internet.
And they went at it with axes and chainsaws, and they discovered everybody.
The reason behind this brutality? Ali said that they only wanted to send out a message, and they did it in the most gruesome way possible. Messages like this one created fear in their rivals, and they behaved better to avoid ending up in the places of those victims. It also meant that the cartels could go around the city and collect extortion money from anyone they wanted.
Once the society or the people where these people are operating, they see several heads appear in the morning with a big old message, or several pieces of bodies scattered around the city, then it's easy for you to go and ask for extortion from anybody.
All the cartel members received the same training, to be ruthless and to take lives without mercy. Ali had received the same, and he had also contributed to a few brutal incidents. Once he had fired at a rival cartel member and injured his leg. The victim was trying to get away. Ali wanted to fire at him once again, but the rifle jammed 2 times. So he went ahead and used the rifle butt on the rival gang member to take his life.
The rifle jammed again, so I basically went up to him and with the butt of the rifle until his head exploded, and that was it.
Ali believed that he had killed more than 70 people in his long tenure as a cartel hitman. But did he ever think about his victims? Perhaps not. Ali said that it was only a job for him, and as a professional, he was trained not to take anything personally. Whenever a sicario mixes emotions with his job, he was reducing his chances of survival. Some of the sicarios didn't have any families or anyone for whom they had strong emotions, because their enemies could use that against them. This meant cartel life was very lonely.
In my case, had no family. Try to avoid being even close to anybody that you had any feelings towards, because they could use that as leverage.
At one point during his tenure, Ali landed in prison. But what mistake did a well-trained sicario like him make to get captured? Well, he let his emotions come in the way of his job. His rivals killed some people who were close to Ali. He went out of his way to find them and take care of the situation. But state and federal government authorities captured him. They interrogated him and slapped him with first-degree murder charges.
They wanted to give me 30 years of prison for murder. I only did 3 years.
Ali saw a different kind of life in prison. It was nothing like the movies or documentaries showed. Life in prison in the US was also much better than in Mexico. Family members of the inmates had to supply daily necessities, otherwise they didn't get anything from prison authorities.
Basically, your family has to come in and drop you off clothes that they obviously ask of a certain color. They have to drop you off toilet paper, they have to drop you off soap, shampoo, whatever you need to keep yourself clean inside of prison, your family has to give to you.
The prison only provided 3 meals a day and water to the inmates. The cells were overcrowded too. 11 to 16 people lived in a cell that was meant for only 4 people.
So you're speaking about having people sleeping on top of the toilet, underneath the bench that you have to have your food, in the middle of the what do you call it, that little space that you have in the middle of the 2 concrete beds and 2 underneath the concrete beds.
According to Ali, every prison was run by a specific cartel. The guards had no choice but to comply with their orders.
If they don't cooperate with what the cartel wants, then they know that they're going to be dealt with outside.
Every guard knew which inmates they could punish and which they couldn't. The repercussions of messing with the wrong inmate could potentially end their lives.
And we're killers, bro. You know, when you're a killer, you're not a drug dealer. You're a killer. You know what your business is. And as a killer, you want respect from those people that are not killers or that are not in that same level of mindset, you know?
Inmates belonging to a certain cartel received a job from their bosses during their time in prison. Ali was in charge of interrogating anyone coming in for trafficking or homicide. By following the protocol, he took permission from the correctional officer before he started work.
And we would go in with the permission of the security of the correctional officers, pull out smartphones, start taking pictures, start interrogating inside of the prison.
The cartels often promised the captured sicarios that they would get them out, but they never did. So when Ali saw he wasn't going to get out of prison anytime soon, he decided to leave the cartel.
So I basically washed my hands and said, you know what, I'm done with you guys. I ain't with the rivals, I ain't with you. I just want to be left alone, because obviously my time here is going to be long.
The cartels didn't accept that, and they made him pay for his decision.
They didn't accept that, and obviously there was repercussions. Was being where I have a broken rib, eardrum.
Ali joined hands with the Chicanos of the prison, and they started rebelling against the cartel inmates. Chicanos are people of Mexican descent who were born in the United States. They took the lives of 2 leaders and celebrated their achievements. As things were getting too brutal, Ali was shifted to a state prison where he did the next 1.5 years. This was a maximum security prison, so things were uglier here.
The maximum security is inside this same state prison, but it is isolated from the whole sections.
So you're not gonna see anyone from
No,
the side, yeah.
you don't see anybody. There's just 2 sections in maximum security. But the main bosses that really control the whole distribution of who gets what kind of drugs, what comes into the prison, are in maximum security because they're protected from the rest of the crowd.
He went from a prison of 500 to a prison of 13,000 inmates. Ali said his experience in that prison had scarred him, and he would never forget some of the horrible things he saw there. Prisoners often rioted and took the lives of anyone they saw as unfit to be in there. They didn't allow the anti-riot correctional officers to come inside and fix the problems, and preferred to take care of them on their own.
They put all the dead bodies in the main entrance, and they told them that there was no problems inside maximum security, that all they wanted was them to take their trash. The people that lift up the dead bodies and the criminal investigations came in, took their pictures and took the bodies.
So what does this level of violence do to you? Ali said that with the daily violence and the loved ones gone from life, it starts to have a negative effect on you. Sometimes he would end up in a battle with rival cartels that would go on for hours, and it made him wonder whether he could come out of it alive.
You have everything, you have money, you have drugs, you have women, but you don't have peace,
After prison, this is when Ali began to question the life he was living and asked himself if it was worth dying for. He didn't want to go back to prison after witnessing the brutality there, so he'd accepted that he might have to die soon.
I had that mindset of that I have already been in prison. I ain't going back. I'd rather die in a firefight than go back into prison.
You're just a pawn for the real people that are making money. They're not gonna worry for you. They're not loyal to you. You're just something that can be replaced by something else.
On a cold January night, Ali went into a brawl with another lieutenant of the cartel who wanted to remove him and take his position. Ali knew he had a few options: to finish off this lieutenant and become an enemy to the cartel, go to a rival cartel for help, or just leave. He chose to drop everything and run away.
Just left my rifle, took my vest off, left the drugs that we had in the car, left the money that I had in the car, stole one of their pickups, and just drove until the gas ran out.
I remember at that time it was like 3 in the morning. I called up some of the closest people I had, and I told them, you know what, I'm bummed.
As of 2023, Ali hadn't seen his mother in 17 years, but he has been in contact with her and his siblings. Even though he'd lost contact with them at one point in his life, he reinstated it later on.
We all take our decisions, and we have to live with our consequences. So if anything happens to me, then don't worry about it. Let the dogs eat me, because that's the life I chose.
Ali is trying hard to walk out of his past. He's putting his strength and enthusiasm in combat sports to good use and working as a boxing instructor. He's also trying to help the youth and spread knowledge about the life inside these cartels and prisons. He isn't all that worried about being in a good position and making a lot of money, because he's seen that life up close, and it didn't bring him peace. Growing up without a father, Ali knows what it can do to the tender minds of a young child. Mexico has many broken families, which has created a generation more susceptible to the glamours of gang life. Ali wants to be the supportive figure who believes in these young children and teens, so that they don't get derailed so easily. After enduring so much, Ali is still haunted by the ghosts of his past, but he is hopeful of overcoming them someday.
Yeah, I suffer of PTSD, suffer insomnia, lack of emotion sometimes. Sometimes they tell me that I'm very cold. It's something that you can't just let go out of the blue, I think it takes time to understand that you're no longer in that life,
Ali is struggling with handling emotions and doesn't know how to deal with normal people and even his family members. But he says that he didn't take the life of anyone who was innocent, and that's a sliver of comfort in his dark memories. Even after so much, Ali says that he wouldn't change anything because all these experiences have made him who he is today. What do you think about the life of Ali Gonzalez? Do you believe that his life could have been different had he not had a bad childhood? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.